Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Sorry I am late to my own podcast here. It's been a fun morning. I coached moms in EAV this morning at 8:15, and it was such a fun workout, such a great group. And then afterwards, someone walked in. This is why I was a little late. But someone walked into the gym, which very rarely happens. I mean, we're on a great street corner there in East Atlanta Village, but it doesn't happen where people just kind of like pop in to say hi very often. But someone walked in and she has a 585 area code. If you know, you know. And so this is why I am late to my own podcast, because I met a fellow Rochesterian who walked into the gym with an interest in us. And of course, we got talking about all the things Rochester, New York. So if you don't know, I am one of the co-owners of OxFit. I'm originally from Rochester, New York. I'm a transplant to Atlanta. And when I find someone else from Rochester, New York down here, we hit it off instantly. So we were chatting it up, and I can't wait to show her what OxFit's all about. But so sorry I'm a little late, but it doesn't look like anyone's really on here anyways. Maybe somebody, one person. All right. Well, happy Wednesday. I have to start today with a follow-up to my husband and our co-owners podcast yesterday. And that's why the name of this podcast is what it is, the Year of the Nerds. And if you listen to it, you, at least to the beginning of it, you know what I'm talking about. He called out, Sav's here, Salty Sav's here. She was in it. She was part of this yesterday. So he called out myself, our head coach, Savannah, Salty Sav. Nick heard it. Good morning, Nick. I know you were here yesterday too. You heard Aunt. So he called out a few of us for being nerds. It was myself, Coach Cash, head coach Savannah, athletic director Beefy. Was there anyone else in there? But he called us all out for being nerds, And you know what? We own it. And deep down, he is too. And I think he's accepting it. But really, the reason why it kind of started was he asked a question about, what do you do when you work? Do you listen to music? Do you work in silence? And a few of us said silence. I think he called out a lot of us also for just liking spreadsheets. But anyways, I want to point out another reason why I deserved to be called a nerd, was because I ran my 5K this past weekend in silence. And I would love to know from y'all, my two listeners here, do you like to run with music and AirPods in, or do you like to just take in the scenery and go for a run / walk / whatever? Are you AirPods or are you a silent runner? No right or wrong answer, really. But this could bring up some additional conversation around, being a nerd. But anyways, on the nerd topic, we finally arrived, nerds cool now. Like, I was always a big nerd. I read books. I know Savannah likes to read. I studied a lot. I stayed in a lot instead of going out. But somehow, because I was really great at soccer and won a ton of state championships in high school, I was still kind of cool, because of that. But in all seriousness, I think people are smartening up a little bit. People are ditching the noise, right? Starting to put their headphones down, their phones down. They're starting to read again. They're going on walks without headphones, and they're doing hard things in silence. And it makes complete sense, because we are finally waking up to what constant stimulation has been doing to us. We've been overloading our brains at a level that has never existed before. You wake up, and before your feet even hit the floor, you're already scrolling. You instantly reach for your phone, right? You've got a podcast going in your ears. You're checking emails, notifications. Your brain never gets a single moment to just breathe. And we wonder why anxiety is through the roof. We wonder why we feel exhausted but can't wind down. Multitasking is a myth. Constant input kills creativity. And so much of that anxiety that we're all walking around with, it's just an overloaded nervous system that just never gets a break. So we're finally onto it. And so, yeah, the nerds are in. The quiet workers are in. The people who are intentional about what they let into their brain are very much in right now. Which brings me back to this past weekend. So our team ran a 5K and everyone crushed it. It was our first one of the season. And I actually didn't even really think about this, but I was looking around and I was one of the few people that ran without AirPods in my ears, without any type of headphone. I ran my 5K. I say in silence. I mean, there was 1,000 people doing it and there were dogs and kids, so it wasn't silent, but I didn't have any stimulus. I was just running and, breathing and taking in, my surroundings, very aware of who was passing me. And I was just in my thoughts, right? While everyone else around me was really plugged in, like most people were plugged in. And I want to talk about that, right? And why I think more of us maybe need to try that a little bit. So that's what my podcast is today. And thank you, Aunt, for calling us out and celebrating the nerd in all of us, because you motivated me and inspired me to kind of come up with this and how it fits into fitness and health overall and just mental health right now in the time that we're in with AI. And yeah, I can't run with music, says Nick. Okay, we got someone chiming in here. So you like to listen to the birds and take in the scenery too. I love that. We can go run together sometime. Although maybe I'll annoy you. Some people say I talk too much while I run. But anyways, yeah. So this conversation has really inspired me to talk about, 5 reasons. 5 specific ways that embracing your inner nerd, being intentional, being a student of your own health will directly help you hit your fitness and physique goals faster than most anything else really could. So this is not a video about a new workout plan, a new fad, a new diet. This is about the habits and mindsets that the most successful, healthiest people I know all have in common. And spoiler alert, they're a little nerdy. So before we get into the 5 reasons, I need to set some context, because I think a lot of us have been operating under this assumption, especially parents and busy moms out there, that doing more is always better. More intensity, more extracurriculars, more hustle, right? More information, more content, more. And the fitness industry has absolutely fueled this too. There's a new program every week, a new superfood every month, a new expert on your podcast feed telling you the one thing that you've been missing or the one thing that you need to add in that someone contradicted the week before. And so you're just spinning, right? Overwhelmed, overstimulated, and honestly, no closer to your goals than you were a year ago, because you try everything and then you quickly give it up. Here's what I want to offer you today as a different way of looking at it. The problem is not that you don't know enough. The problem is that you are taking in too much and then applying too little, taking too little action. We're living in the most overstimulated era in human history, right? You wake up and you feel that like, I got to check my phone. Your brain's already pulling you in 15 different directions. Notifications, emails, social media, news, podcasts, text messages from overnight, right? Your nervous system's firing from the moment you open your eyes, and it never stops. Not at lunch, not during your workout, not even on your rest days. And so we wonder why anxiety is at an all-time high. We wonder why so many people hit that afternoon crash, right? We wonder why focus feels impossible and motivation keeps running out. And it's not weakness. It's overstimulation. Your brain is maxed out. Multitasking, which most of us think we're good at, is actually a myth. Your brain doesn't do 2 things at once. It rapidly switches between them, and it does both things worse. Every time you split your attention, you lose depth, you lose presence, you lose the quality of what you're actually doing. So the nerd approach is the antidote to all of this. It's intentional, it's focused, it's quiet. And when it comes to your fitness and your physique goals, it's actually wildly effective. All right, 5 reasons why being a nerd can help your fitness goals. Let's get into it. All right. So, reason number one, and this one is foundational. Everything else we're going to talk about today connects back to this. Put the technology away. It's one of the most powerful things you can do for your fitness. And I know this sounds counterintuitive in a world where there's fitness trackers and apps and YouTube workout videos. And I'm not saying it's the enemy, because clearly you're watching this on YouTube. So we're all good here. But constant compulsive technology use, that is actively working against your goals. And here is exactly why. Your body recovers and adapts when your nervous system is calm. Sleep is the most obvious example. Your body does the majority of its repair work, muscle rebuilding, and hormone regulation while you sleep. But recovery isn't only happening at night. It also happens throughout the day. And every moment that your nervous system gets to down regulate. Every moment you're not in a state of low grade stress and stimulation. When you're constantly on your phone, scrolling, responding, consuming, your cortisol levels stay elevated. And cortisol is your primary stress hormone. And in small doses, it's totally fine and normal, but chronically elevated cortisol, that is the enemy of body composition. It literally promotes fat storage, especially around the midsection. It breaks down muscle, it disrupts sleep, it tanks your energy, and it makes your cravings worse. So when I talk about putting the technology away, I'm not talking about a digital detox retreat in the mountains, although honestly, sign me up for that. I'm talking actually about just small intentional windows throughout your day where your brain gets to be off completely. Like no phone at the dinner table, right? Put it away. Put your watch away too, right? If you have a watch that's beeping and alerting you, put it away. No scrolling for the first 20 minutes after you wake up. Work out without earbuds, or at least without the constant context switching of checking your phone between like sets and during rest periods, right? You always see people at the gym in between sitting down, and then they get too much rest too. So put it away. Look at it after your workout. A walk where you're actually just walking, right? These windows matter. They add up, and your nervous system and your body composition will thank you for them. And that's exactly what happened on my 5K, you guys. So no AirPods in, no distractions, really, just my body moving and my brain finally getting some quiet. And something shifts when you do that. You become more present in your own body. You notice your running form. You notice your breath. You notice how you actually feel, which it turns out is really useful information when you're trying to maybe, beat your previous time or prevent injury, right? So the nerd move is this: protect your recovery time like it's part of your training, because it is. All right, guys, that's it for me on number one. Put the technology away. Number two, this one connects directly to my 5K story, so stay with me on this one. Working in silence, training in silence, thinking in silence, it's a performance tool. We've been sold this idea that we need to be constantly entertained, that every workout needs a hype playlist, that every run needs a podcast, every walk you need to call your grandma or whatever. That silence is somehow unproductive or boring. But, and I used to believe that too. Like I used to do that. I used to always fill my time, walking my dog with something so that I could maximize my time, right? Like, oh, I got to listen to that new parenting book I told myself I'd listen to, right? Like, oh, I got to call my sister and my mom in this 30-minute window because I haven't talked to them in 2 days or whatever, right? You put that pressure on yourself to fill those windows with constant stimulation. But lately, what I've found is walking in silence. It's genuinely surprised me, and it has been really, really enjoyable. When you remove that external input, your internal signal gets louder. You become more attuned to your body. You start to notice things that you've been drowning out, how your energy levels actually are, right? Like how your emotions actually are. Like, how are you doing today, right? Where are you holding tension? Connecting with your feelings. Are you breathing properly, right? Like, what your body's telling you about its effort level that day. You become a better, more focused person mother, employee, or coworker, better athlete, just by paying more attention to your body and your feelings. There's also something really powerful that happens cognitively when you give your brain some unstructured quiet time. And this is where your best thinking can happen. This is where you process things that you've been too busy to process. This is where creativity and problem solving actually live. Not in the noise, but in the quiet between the noise. So think about the last time you had a really clear, useful thought, or solved a problem, or came up with, a name for something that you were like stuck on, right? Because you were in a creative rut. I bet it was like in the shower or on a drive with no music, right? Laying in bed before you fell asleep, on a walk where you weren't listening to anything. Not while you were scrolling, not while you were multitasking, but in a quiet moment. Your brain needs unstructured time the same way your muscles need rest days. It's not optional, it's part of the process. And for your fitness goals specifically, the clarity you get from quiet training sessions, from walks without headphones, from giving your brain space to actually think, that clarity translates. You make better decisions about your food. You're more consistent with your training, because when you're more connected to what you're doing, you're able to prioritize better and make decisions more clearly. You're less reactive, less impulsive, less likely to blow your nutrition because you're stressed and maxed out. So silence is actually a competitive advantage. All right, moving on. Reason number 3, and I want to spend a little extra time here because I think this one gets dismissed way too quickly by people who feel like if it's not hard, it doesn't count. Walking. Walking specifically as intentional active recovery is one of the most effective tools you have for improving your body composition. Here's what active recovery actually means. It means moving your body at a low enough intensity that you're not creating additional stress and breakdown, but you're increasing blood flow, reducing muscle soreness, supporting your lymphatic system, and burning additional calories, all without taxing your nervous system or your muscles. And walking does all of this. So let me give you some numbers. A 30-minute walk burns somewhere between 150 and 200 calories, depending on your body weight and pace. That's typically what I clock in at. And that doesn't sound dramatic, right? But 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that's 750 to 1,000 calories a week. And that's 3,000 to 4,000 a month from just walking. And that's without destroying your joints, spiking your cortisol levels, or needing another recovery day after a walk, right? This is active recovery. And for anyone focused on fat loss, and I know a lot of you are, a lot of my clients are, right? This is huge because this is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to lose body fat is they either do way too much, which keeps stress levels just chronically elevated, and actually can make fat loss harder. Or they do nothing on their rest days because they're just so exhausted. And even they may think that rest is like just total inactivity, right? But walking is the best. So that is the option that no one talks about, and it is the smartest one. But here's the part I really want you to hear. The walk, it's even more powerful though. Like if you put the phone away, keep it in your pocket, don't look at it. Walk without those headphones. Walk without a podcast. Try it. Just walk. Because now you're combining active recovery with the nervous system reset we talked about in reason number 1. And so you're getting the physical benefits of active recovery and the mental benefits as well simultaneously. You're reducing the cortisol level while also burning more calories, while also clearing your head, while also improving your mood through just gentle movement and vitamin D. That's a lot of return on a very simple investment. So that's the nerd move. That's number 3, guys. Understand that not every piece of your fitness plan needs to be intense, right? You need to be coming to OxFit and doing our workouts 3 to 5 days a week, but there needs to be some nerdy, quiet, boring stuff in between to help you cleanse your mental health, right? To help your body recover and rebuild. And that's often where the real progress gets made, in between. The people who figured this out are the ones who stay consistent for years, and they don't do that roller coaster, see results, drop, see results, drop, right? And not because they're more motivated, really, but because they're just smarter about how they're managing really the whole picture outside of the gym as well. You can't expect that 1 hour in the gym to give you everything. You've got to be putting in the nerdy work too. Okay. Reason number 4, and this is the one that I know some of you are going to push back on a little bit. I hear it all the time. I don't want to obsess over food, or tracking feels like too much. And honestly, in certain seasons of life, it is too much. And as your coach, if you work with me, I will guide you through this process and let you know when we need to be tracking. But there is a season where we do just focus on clean, whole foods. But then there is a season where if we want results, we've got to look at the data, guys. So, I hear you, and I want to address that. I want to address the concerns about getting obsessed over food tracking, right? But first, I want to make the case for why logging and tracking your food can be one of the most powerful nerd habits you can build when it comes to your physique goals. So here's the core issue with not tracking. So you're making decisions with incomplete information, right? You're guessing. And humans are really bad at estimating calories and macros. Like, scientifically, research confirmed, bad at it. Like, studies consistently show people underestimate their calorie intake by 20 to 40% if they're not tracking. Like, that's not a little bit off. That's significantly off. So that means someone who thinks they're eating about 800 calories might actually be eating 2,200 to 2,400 and have no idea. And then they wonder why they're not losing weight, right? Even though they feel like they're eating clean. It's not that they're doing something wrong. They just don't have the data to really show them the whole picture. So tracking gives you the data, and the data changes everything, right? It tells you the story. When you start logging your food, honestly, accurately, consistently, you start to see patterns that you couldn't see before. You see which meals are keeping you full, which ones are leaving you hungry an hour later. You see where your protein's actually landing versus where you thought it was. You see the sneaky places that calories are hiding, right? Those cooking oils, the handfuls of nuts, the extra tablespoon of dressing that feel like nothing when you really eat them, but they add up to a few extra 100 calories a day. And here is what I want to be clear about. Tracking is not about restriction, okay? It is information. You're not logging to punish yourself. You're not logging to obsess or feel guilty. You are logging to understand your body, to be a student of your own nutrition, to make informed decisions instead of just guessing. That is the nerd mindset. And it's the difference between spinning your wheels for years, just like wondering, why am I not losing weight, right? And then actually making consistent, sustainable progress by looking at the data and understanding the real story. Now, for those of you who have tried tracking and found it stressful, I want to offer you this. The stress usually comes from using it as like a grading system for yourself, right? From feeling like a bad day of eating is a failure that shows up in your log and beating yourself up about it. And what that actually is a mindset issue. It's not a result of tracking. Don't blame the tracking. The log is neutral, right? The story is what's making you upset, and it's just data. A day where you went over your calories is a data point. It's not a moral failing. It tells you something useful, and you can use that. Start with just tracking your protein. If full macro tracking feels like too much right now, just log your protein for a couple weeks. Get familiar with the tool, see where you're actually landing, build the habit. And then the full picture becomes a lot less overwhelming once you're comfortable with just a small piece of it. So the nerd move here is treat your nutrition like a scientist would. Observe, measure, adjust. Don't attach any drama to it. Just use the data. And then the story will tell you, right, why you aren't losing the weight that you thought you should be losing, right? But if you don't see it, don't track it, don't interpret it, then you're going to just keep spinning your wheels and just keep guessing. All right, guys. Here we are, reason number 5 that it pays off to be a nerd, the big picture one, the one that ties everything together, okay? So being intentional, being a student of your own health is how you build a body and a lifestyle that actually lasts. Everything we've talked about today has a common thread running through it, right? So putting the technology away, working in silence, walking intentionally, logging your food. Like none of these are flashy. None of them are going to go viral. None of them are the exciting new thing that fitness influencers are hyping up this month. But they all require the same thing, and that's paying attention. Pay attention to your body, to your patterns, to what's working and what isn't, to how you feel after different foods, different sleep amounts, different training loads. Be curious about yourself. Be willing to slow down a little bit to actually notice. And this is what the nerd does, right? And this is what the person who is still fit, healthy, and strong at 50, 60, and beyond has always done. The fitness industry isn't built on selling you the next thing, the next program, the next supplement, the next diet. And there's always something new, right? There's always something shinier, always something promising faster results. And every time you chase it, you start over. You lose the data. You lose the momentum. You lose the thread of what was actually working. Right? So the nerd doesn't just chase the trends. The nerd builds systems, right? The nerd keeps showing up consistently without needing it to be exciting every single day. The nerd understands that sometimes the boring, repeatable habits are the ones that compound. That the walk you take every day for a year is worth more than the intense program that you did for just 2 weeks. That 5-day cleanse that shed some weight, but then you put it all right back on the next week, right? So, and that's what our coaching program is about. It's about helping you find your inner nerd, building those habits, stacking them on top of each other, getting really consistent, repeatable habits that work for you and your lifestyle, learning how to meal prep in a way that keeps you excited about your food and your nutrition, but also fits your needs and your goals, right? And something that is repeatable so that we do it over time. We know you're going to get results. We can guarantee those sorts of results when you work with a coach in our coaching program. So here's what I really want to land with you. I want to land with you today. You're not lacking motivation. You're not lacking intention. Okay? Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes based on how you feel, how inspired you are, how much sleep you got, how stressed you are, right? But intention is different. Intention is a decision that you make in advance. This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I'm going to do it whether I feel like it or not. That's the nerd mindset. That is the athlete mindset. You have to be intentional. That is the mindset of the person who actually gets where they're trying to go. You don't need more hype. You don't need more content. You don't need more noise. You need to get quiet, focused, get intentional, and keep showing up. So, this is the year of the nerds, and it's the most powerful fitness shift that you can ever make. Embrace your inner nerd. Hire a coach. Come work out with us at OxFit. Follow our coaching program for 8 to 12 weeks, and you will build some incredible habits that will get you to your goals. All right, guys, quick recap. So 5 reasons being a nerd will help you hit your fitness and physique goals. 1, put the technology away. Protect your nervous system. Lower your stress levels. Let your body recover. 2, work and train in silence sometimes. Improve your body awareness. Clear your head. Sharpen your focus. You won't ever see us run in a group class without music, But if you ever go on a walk, a jog, right? Put those headphones away. Just take in the surroundings and let your mind just kind of release that tension and energy and see where it takes you. Go for an active recovery walk. That's number 3, right? Lower your stress. You'll get a high return for it. And it's even better, right, if you can do it without any stimulation. Number 4, guys, log and track that food. Try it out or start simple, maybe just with that protein goal. It doesn't have to be an obsession, right? If you're using it just for the data. Change that mindset shift. Don't make yourself guilty about it. Use it as information that you can use. Information is power. All right. And then that last one, number 5, be intentional and study yourself, right? The long game, the boring habits, the stuff that actually compounds. Check in with yourself. See how you're feeling. So this isn't complicated stuff, right? It doesn't require a brand new shiny program or a new supplement or some new biohack that's out there. It does require you to actually just slow down a little bit, pay more attention, and trust the process. Sometimes boring and repeatable steps are what you need. So here's what I know about you. You showed up today. You're thinking about your health. You're investing time in learning. You're doing the work when no one's watching. That's already the nerd mentality. You're already there. Now it's about applying it. So pick one thing from today's video, just one, and maybe try it this week. Put your phone away for your next workout. Go for a walk without your headphones. Log your protein, just your protein, for 3 days and see where it's at. Is it consistent? Is it all over the place? Start somewhere, but start small, and start today. So if this video resonated with you, and I genuinely hope it did, hit the like button, please. Leave me a comment. Tell me, are you team AirPods on your run or walk, or are you team silence? I'd love to hear from you. I want to know where you stand. And if you've done a walk or a workout recently without any technology, tell me about it. I want to hear. So if you want to go any deeper too into like training, nutrition, building a lifestyle that actually works too for the long term, then I'll link all the applications and informations down below. I would love to work with you, or one of our expert coaches would love to work with you. Come join us inside OxFit. We have an awesome community. We change people's lives. We're very much a bunch of nerds over here, and we're proud of it. And it gets us results. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you next week.